Hey, today on Rachel Mixes Up, we're going to make one of my favorite Italian sauces, a spicy arrabbiata. Are you ready? Let's get started. Spicy arrabbiata. It's usually a vegetarian sauce and naturally gluten-free, which is awesome. And it's very spicy and garlicky. It's so delicious. But you can tone back on the spice and the garlic if you prefer. Very easy to adjust this recipe. So for us at home, I made it one time with the Italian sausage, and it was such a hit that I haven't stopped making it with Italian sausage. So it's no longer vegetarian in our house. But you do it however you see fit. You can use ground turkey and season it with fennel seeds and Italian seasoning. I have some fennel seeds here. I have some fresh oregano and basil from my garden. You can mix it up and change it however you want. You could also chop up tempeh and season it like an Italian sausage as well with the same seasonings. And it's awesome. I've done that before too. I have a pound of sweet Italian sausage, and you can use hot Italian sausage or just Italian sausage. 3 tablespoons of decent tomato paste. You have your red pepper flakes, and the recipe calls for 2 to 3 teaspoons of red pepper flakes. That is hot. It's very spicy. I start with 1, and then I put some at the table so those of us who like the spice can add more heat to our own individual dishes. Or just eliminate the spice altogether, especially if you have little ones who can't tolerate any spice. And I also have a jar, 28 ounces of the crushed tomatoes. I like the Cento brand. I can buy 3-pack at Costco, much more economical than buying them individually at the grocery store. I also have some fennel seeds. I am gonna add the fennel seeds because the sweet Italian sausage doesn't have any. And I feel like that's a necessity with Italian sausage. So I am going to add that. We have maple syrup rather than sugar. And we're gonna use 2 to 3 tablespoons. Taste as you go. That's always how you should cook, is just have a spoon ready and taste as you go to see what you need more of. More maple syrup, maybe a little bit more salt. I do have some salt, sea salt ready to go because it does call for a few pinches of sea salt. Again, I'll taste as I go. And then it calls for 4 garlic cloves, but you see 5 here because I always add an extra one when I'm cooking. I love garlic. So I think that's it. Let's get started. First things first with this recipe, because the sauce cooks so quickly, I'm gonna start my pasta water straight away. So let's do that. Let's get the pasta water going. I'm gonna bring it up to high heat in a covered pot. Now I use this is one of the pastas I've used, the organic brown rice and quinoa pasta you can buy at Aldi. And this particular recipe said penne, so I just grabbed some penne. But I've done this recipe with long spaghetti noodles, with spiral noodles, with the cascatelli, all sorts of noodles this sauce works great for. I just happen to have this, so I'm gonna use this one. Now, the only thing with gluten-free pastas you have to be aware of is that they get mushy very easily, so stay on top of the time. You do not wanna overcook them. They will fall to pieces. Also, I try to fill the pot with quite a bit of water. So if I'm not actually doing all of this pasta, I'm only doing about 10 to 12 ounces rather than the full 16. If I was going to do the full pound, I would use a bigger pot because I want more water for the pasta to move in the pot and boil so they don't all clump together and stick together. That's it. Now also, if you're not doing pasta and you're doing something like spaghetti squash in lieu of pasta or hearts of palm, this sauce works awesome too because it's just so flavorful. So it covers up, especially the hearts of palm where you don't have a lot of flavor. This is a perfect sauce for that. Are you ready to get saucy? Let's do it. Here we go. I have my pan heated and I added a little bit of olive oil, just a little bit, because since it's my cast iron pan, it's gonna be seasoned already. So first thing I'm gonna do is I'm going to add red pepper flakes. My family can tolerate some spice, so I am going to do, I'll do 2 teaspoons. Why not, right? Why Why not? And I'm gonna wanna smell this, okay? All right, you know what? I'll do 1.5. I'm chicken. All right. Now, we might start coughing from the red pepper flakes too. Hopefully not. You hear that sizzle? Okay, like you have those going. Now I'm gonna add, oh yeah. I'm gonna add my tomato paste. I'm hoping to get some fragrance here. Definitely getting some fragrance. And it's 3 tablespoons of tomato paste. Yes, I just said tomato. And before I said tomato. They're interchangeable, aren't they? It's more fun that way. My pan's a little hot. You can see it steaming. I did have it going for a little bit, so it might be a little too hot, but just go with it, okay? Don't sweat it. I'm certainly not going to. Now I'm gonna add my Italian sausage. All right, I'm gonna try to get that tomato paste and those red pepper flakes mixed in there as well. Get the flavor infused. So I've been browning my Italian sausage for a few minutes. Now, it's kind of difficult because it is hard to move around and I want to grab the handle, but because it's cast iron, I will burn my hand. So I have this nifty little silicone handle guard I'm gonna place on, and then I can actually do this. But this meat looks ready to use my pastry cutter on it to break it up. You can see these big, big chunks. It's not gonna be pleasant. You're gonna take a big chunk and it won't be enough meat to go around in the sauce. So, look at how great this is. Just cuts it all up. Multi-use item. I love that. When you have something in the kitchen that you can use for multiple things, breaks up quite nicely. And for turkey too, sometimes ground turkey can be a little tough like that. So use it for whatever you need to cut up a bit more. Oh, this is gonna be good. That looks so yummy, spicy. We had a little coughing action going on in here because of the spice from the peppers. So just be aware of that. If you're really sensitive, then you don't have to do that. You could add the pepper flakes to the meat once the meat has been cooking, along with the tomato paste as well. I just like to add it because I like to get the fragrance going and add the flavor. So that's what I do. But you do what works best for you. I see my pasta water is ready and boiling, but I'm not ready to cook my pasta yet. So this is helpful. I do this now with all of my pastas, or whenever I'm making a pasta for dinner. I always start the water first thing. That way, while my sauce is cooking, the water is getting ready. And if I don't need it straight away, I just shut it off until I do need it. And then it's so hot already that it takes like a minute or two to get it back up to boil. And then my pasta, I can cook it straight away. It's nice and hot, goes with hot sauce. Everything's ready at the same time. All right. I wish you could smell this. It's so good. And the color from the tomato paste, so fragrant. Okay, next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add my crushed tomatoes. I just use a knife to get these chunks out that are stuck in the pastry cutter. Get that out. All right, Centos. All right, let's mix that in. Oh, yummy. So because of the meat, it turns out more the consistency of like a bolognese sauce, a meat bolognese. But like I said, you don't have to add the meat. You can do the strictly vegetarian as well. It's just as good. Well, it is, but the meat does add a little something, something. Now I am gonna add some fennel seeds, and I should have done that when I was cooking the meat, but completely forgot about it. With normal Italian sausage, they come with fennel seeds. You don't need to add it, so I'm out of habit, but we happen to only be able to find the sweet Italian. So I'm just gonna add a few fennel seeds because I think fennel's amazing. It just adds some really good flavor. I can smell that now too. Fennel, oh, so good, so good. Okay, so in the original recipe, which I will include the link in the description below of where I found the original recipe, which was from the Minimalist Baker. I love her stuff. She has tons of vegan and vegetarian options, lots of gluten-free. So I will include that. Now she normally does the garlic with the red pepper flakes in the very beginning, but I've been adding the garlic at the very end after I take the food off the heat. It just adds more of a punch, a flavor. The garlic I don't take a chance of burning my garlic, which is very easy to do if you add that to a pan, a hot pan, straight away without anything else. So it just works for me. Do what works for you. I have some fresh oregano from my garden, so I'm just gonna grab that and I'm gonna add that as well. It smells so good. You wanna smell it? You wanna smell it? Alrighty, see this bubbling? I'm gonna turn it to low, just let it simmer a little bit. And it's almost time to do my pasta. I might as well get my pasta going. I have a tablespoon of salt waiting, because I do add salt to my pasta water because it does help flavor the pasta. Look how quickly that came to a boil. It wasn't even a minute or two, it's actually seconds. I did just turn it off not that long ago, but that's a quick tip. And it's very helpful when you're trying to stay on track and get dinner on the table, which is most nights. You wanna be fast. Got a lot of stuff going on. Now be careful, I turn it down when I add my salt because it does cause a bit of a reaction. I'd rather not have to clean that up later, and then I turn it back up. So I'm going to not put this whole pound of pasta in, as I said before. Just this pot of water is not big enough, and my family is not gonna eat a whole pound of pasta. If we need to make more in the week, we will, but so I'm gonna go ahead and add most of it though. The recipe calls for 10 to 12 ounces of pasta, and I just eyeball it pretty much. With this particular recipe, that sauce is a little thick. What I'm going to do is I have a bowl set aside, and when I'm going to put it through the colander, I put the colander over the bowl. I'm gonna show you how that works. And I'm gonna reserve some of the pasta water in case my sauce is too thick and it needs a little thinning out. All right, I'm gonna let that boil, and I'm gonna set my timer for 7 minutes because I do not wanna overcook this pasta. All right, I got my timer set on my phone. Put it in my nifty pocket. I love aprons with pockets. We're gonna stir the pasta. I wanna make sure you stir your pasta often, especially the gluten-free. And these are looking close, so I am gonna try one just to see where we're at. They're ready. Timer. Don't always go by your timer. Taste everything. Now, remember, you need to have a bowl under your colander because we have to reserve like about a half a cup of the pasta water in case your sauce is a little too thick and you want to thin it out a little bit. So let's grab pasta, pour it through. But you don't want it sitting in water. That should be plenty. So I'm going to set that aside a second. Grab that off. Oh yeah, that's more than enough. It's like a cup or so. So, you see that? That's the pasta water. Now it doesn't look very appealing, but it is useful. So I'm gonna go ahead and pour the rest of the pasta in. And I don't want that to keep cooking. And you hear different people say different things. Some people rinse their pasta with cold water. Some people don't because they say the sauce isn't gonna stick to it if you do that. You know what though? With gluten-free pasta especially, rinsing with cool water is very, very helpful so they don't all stick together. And you know what? Even rinsing them, they may stick together if they sit there for a long time, but we're not gonna have them sit for a long time, because we'll be adding them to the sauce. All right, let's move the pasta here, so it's ready to go. And let's finish the sauce. Just a couple more steps with the sauce. We need some maple syrup. The recipe calls for 2 to 3 teaspoons, so I always start on the lower side with 2. A lot of tomato-based sauces call for sugar to help cut the acid. And this one calls for maple syrup, which I really, really like, using more of a natural sweetness in that. And then she also calls for a pinch of salt. I use some sea salt. Pinch that around. And I like to add some fresh oregano. Since it's that time of year, I have oregano and basil and thyme and rosemary growing in my garden right now. So I'm gonna go ahead and add some of that. Now, if you have a stem, see, I just picked this morning, it's already getting a little wilty. It's very easy to get your oregano off. I was just doing it earlier and it was working so well. So simply, you see it just peels right off of the stem. Isn't that nice? Let's try it again. And voila. There we go. We'll chop this up. I think fresh is best, but you know, I make this recipe a lot during the winter and fall because it's just one of those comfort foods. It's nice and warm and spicy. It's great on a winter night. So you can't always get fresh herbs. I mean, I guess you can at the store, but I just don't want to have to pay for them all the time. So in that case, I use just Italian seasoning, dry Italian seasoning that I have on hand. But when you have the fresh stuff, when you can use it, use it. Okay, so I am going to take this off the heat. It's about ready. I'm going to taste it too. That is key. Taste your food. See what else it needs. Woo! Oh, that's good. It's got a kick. Wow, this is really good. It's spicy. It's very spicy. This is very good. Has a nice sweetness. I am going to add a little bit more sea salt to it, but it still needs that garlic, that kick of garlic. So I have several cloves here. I'm going to go ahead and mince them. I'm going to mince them right into the sauce, and then I'll add my fresh oregano too. So let's do that. This is going to make the garlic a bit more potent as well, which, if you love garlic, I think this is the way to do it. And if you don't, if you really steer clear of garlic, you could skip it. Honestly, this sauce is delicious even without it. But the garlic does add a little something, something, which I love. And like I said, I always add an extra clove for good luck. No, I don't think that's a real thing. I just said that because that seems to be what everybody says. When they add a little extra of something, it's for good luck or something. I don't know. I add it because I love garlic. End of story. Oop. Yes, that is a lot of garlic and it smells so good. I'm gonna add my fresh oregano as well. Put that down, try to get all that oregano. Yum. I mean, the smell, I wish you could smell it. I have a little bit of maple syrup left in that spoon. I'm gonna get all that out. Now, cutting garlic, it's very easy getting the skin off. You just trim the end. And sometimes the skin comes off very easily if it's an older piece of garlic, but sometimes they're quite stubborn. But I just mash them down. That never happens, but let's pretend it does all the time. No, you mash it down and the skin easily comes off. So there's a little tip for you as well. Let's mix this in. Oh my goodness. I'm so excited. Now it is a little thick, so I am gonna use a little bit of my pasta water. So it goes a little bit further with my pasta. And then you need to taste it again though, because if you add some pasta water, you might need some extra seasoning. However, I did salt my water. Don't forget that. Salted my water, so my water's slightly seasoned. I'm gonna just start with a little bit at a time. There's no way I'm gonna add all of this. So that's probably a little over 2 tablespoons, I'm guessing. With the tomato paste, I used 3 tablespoons of tomato paste, so it did make it quite thick. So that water does help. Now, the reason why you'd want to use your pasta water rather than just regular tap water is, one, it's already hot, okay? You've just cooked your pasta in it. It has a little bit of that starch, so it has a little bit of a thickening agent. It's not gonna water it down. Also, I did salt my pasta water, so it is slightly seasoned already. So it's not gonna take a lot of that flavor away. But I think we still need to taste it, don't you? Definitely. Oh my gosh, it's so good. I'm ready for dinner. Definitely. That's so good. I think we're set. Now, if I were having company over, just so you know, if you ever come over to my house for dinner, I would not use the same spoon twice. I promise. All right. Lastly, is you're going to add your pasta to your sauce and make it kind of just like one dish. My family is not a huge fan of that, so we reserve the sauce and have them separate. Especially with gluten-free pasta, it doesn't always work when you reheat it and such, so we do keep them separate. But the recipe does call for mixing it all together. But let's go ahead and get this plated and I'll entice you a bit more. I got a bowl, I've got some pasta, I've got a delicious sauce to add to my pasta. I think we need to sample this, don't you? Gonna add some fresh basil, some fresh Parmesan. Oh yeah. Bueno. Wanna try a bite? I know you do. So make it at home. It's awesome. Hey, thanks for joining me today on Rachel Mixes It Up. Be sure to like and subscribe below, and we'll see you next time.